Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Engadget podcast for the week of June 17th. My name is Tim Stevens. I'm the editor-in-chief of Engadget. Sitting to my left is the beautiful and talented Brian Heater.
Like your new headset there.
Thanks
when,
very much.
When did you come across that?
Making a return. To my right, Mr. Peter Rojas, Engadget founder. Welcome, sir.
Thank also you. Quite attractive.
Very beautiful.
No, well,
that's
not.
We'll save it for after the podcast, gentlemen.
I pale in comparison to what is across from me.
I pale in comparison to literally pale.
I'm just pale. I'm wearing glass
tan.
today. People are always asking me, where is my glass headset? And I wanted to wear it today for a specific reason, because I might have broken it. And
as far as you know, are you the first person to do that?
As far as I know, yes. But actually going online, I've now realized that I'm not the first person to do it. So I took it out of my bag today because I was going to wear it just to show some people. And the earpiece is broken, actually, back where the battery is here, right where the titanium bit ends, is broken. So I've got some tape on there.
Good thing we bought that, because I don't know
nerd
if
fashion.
Google would
Actually, so full credit, I emailed Google, and within 10 minutes, they emailed me back with an appointment to go replace it. So the support on glass is absolutely astonishing.
Not
only Google were that.
They also probably recognize the value of not.
Yeah, I was gonna say not to lessen how nice that is, but there's 10 other people with that out there, so it probably isn't. If they actually have a Google Glass support team, like what else are they doing?
And it's amazing. I mean,
it's 1-to-1 actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I've actually had to call them with issues when it wouldn't tether to my phone before, and they were very smart and very quick to figure out the issue and very friendly, and I wasn't put on hold or anything like that. It is pretty amazing. I wish that they could bring that support to Gmail or Docs or anything else. But obviously there's a volume question there.
Yeah, a volume, and also they know each one of the people who have it, and how important it is to respond in a timely manner to said people.
Yeah. And it got me thinking, actually, so since I broke mine, I started looking online, and a lot of other people have had issues, whether some people had it overheat and crack, some people have had it broken like mine. There have been a lot of other hardware issues, which makes me think maybe that's factored into the price. Maybe for $1,500, you're not getting one glass, you're actually getting 2 or 3 glass headsets to replace them all.
I mean, I don't think they assumed that you would break it after a week. But
yeah, to be fair, it lasted about 2 months. Yeah. But anyway, Google support's been great, so I've got an appointment to get a new glass headset, which will be good because the battery on this one has gone from awful to atrocious. So I'm looking forward to getting a fresh new battery pack.
Do you think? I mean, do you think they're just flimsy, or did you blow it?
No, I treat this very carefully. One of the problems is the case that it comes in has got like a hard front to protect the lens, but the back is just a bag, basically.
So $1,500 they couldn't afford.
They couldn't give you a hard case. I mean, if you buy a pair of Oakleys, you get a hard case.
Get a little box.
I could get a box. The box they give you is like this massive.
No, but I'm saying like a little thin.
There's gotta be something actually that's analogous to that, right?
We should do like an Engadget branded Google Glass
hard case.
Carrying
Let's 3D print a
case.
case. Let's 3D print a case. Right?
Call up your bro Bree there.
I've got something in the other room. One of those.
That's a MakerBot. Is it a 2? Is it 1?
I think it's a 1.
I think it's a 1. Yeah. So it'll take a little longer.
Garbage. It's garbage.
Last gen crap.
Just have somebody in Shenzhen just whip it up.
That's probably much easier.
Our friends in 3D Systems are a couple blocks away.
That's true. They're not far. We could have it printed in metal. Yeah. That'd be pretty great. Have a hard metal case for your glass.
We could tell them that we were going to get Stratus to do it, and that'll probably be moving along faster. You could get your head printed on it if you want. The sky is the limit.
Hit them off.
Moving right along, we have a couple events we want to talk about. Primarily being the Engadget plus Gadget Live event coming up Monday night. Very exciting. It's going to be starting at. Actually,
it opens public at 6 o'clock.
It is 6. That's what I was going to say, but I wanted to double check. We've got a big, beautiful TV that's going to be there, amongst other things. We're going to have some cool conversations up on stage.
Is that the same one that we had on CBS?
Very same TV. If you happen to see Mr. Brian Heater, a superstar, on CBS this morning, Saturday, talking about a couple of different things, one of which was a 4K TV.
I think I was introduced as the editor of the internet or something.
I think so. Senior editor of the internet, I believe it was. You can see the 4K Sony, I think it's a 55-inch they're going to bring out on Friday night.
55 on Saturday. Yeah.
Actually, I think it's the most affordable 4K set on the market at this point.
Well, don't pitch it that way.
No, there is that cheaper one that's totally horrible, remember?
No, I don't.
I think we talked about it on the podcast a few months ago. There's like one really cheap one that's like $1,800 or something.
Okay, the cheapest good 4K set.
The cheapest one that you would actually maybe want to consider buying.
When you're talking about a giveaway, don't use the word cheapest.
No, we're not talking. Well, most affordable. But it's. I don't think we're giving it away though. I think it's just you can come and see it. Are we giving it away?
I don't know.
You can
come and find out.
If you can take it out, you can have it.
Man, I should really know
Yeah,
this.
if you could carry it and not get tackled, then by all means, take that.
Yeah, but it's going to be a good event. We're going to have like a lot of cool companies there. Samsung is going to be there. Samsung and Sony are going to have like really big booths, showing off like a ton of stuff.
Samsung and Sony Mobile, is it?
It's Samsung Mobile and Sony Electronics will be
That's
there.
good. Qualcomm, Toshiba, Slingbox, Goji. And the smart lock company from
Toshiba.
Expand is going to be there. It's Goji, right? Is that the smart lock company? They were part of Intercoin.
Goji's going to be there. They won the free. We had like a free table for a startup, and they won the contest.
No,
I think that was a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, Goji's there. I think Goji's the new one. But
Sorry,
Goji is
it's a lock.
LCD. It's like
And it can take pictures
really nice
and everything.
looking,
It looks really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, you can check in on your phone, and it will actually send you the image of the person coming through the door.
Nokia's going to be there, so you'll be able to check out the latest Windows phones. Slingbox. I mean, there's a whole bunch.
And us.
Well, and we'll be there too. I
big
did want to mention
Windows
that
phones.
Pop Chips is sponsoring for the first time, so there'll be lots of Pop Chips
Great.
You can get good and fat
for everybody.
Wait, actually, they're healthy.
Slightly healthier than potato
Okay.
chips, and you
We
won't
will
get as
be-
many grease smudges on those Windows phones.
We'll be healthily sated.
Yeah.
As far as gamer snack foods go, they're one of the healthier.
Yeah.
That's what
And
I'll
you
say.
won't get smudges on your
And
touchscreens.
guys, they paid us in Pop Chips, so
You're gonna just Scrooge,
Well,
you're gonna
I
Scrooge
didn't hear about
McDuck it
that.
in the Engadget room, just swim in a tub of pop chips.
it's and then we're doing editors roundtable. So
I'm told there will be booze too.
there will be, yes.
Yeah.
There's going to be
will
alcohol.
be blood.
So it's going to be really good, and it's in Soho, so it's pretty easy to get to.
There's
the
be some
trains.
panels there.
It's going to
There's
be
some panels.
at 82 Mercer, which is not at 82 Mercer. It's actually at 76
76
Mercer.
well, that entrance isn't.
But guess what? If you can go to either, and you will figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're not far away from each other, but it should be a real good time. I'm
It's
going
a
to
nice
be there.
space, too.
Yeah.
It is a nice space. Yeah, we've been to some product launches there, so it's great. Looking forward to it. Hope to see a lot of you there. Have you guys seen numbers lately? I know we were
We were
low in
doing
the
fine a long
thousands,
time
but
ago, so I'm not super.
It's going to
worried.
be there's going to be a very healthy turnout, but I wouldn't discourage anybody from. I mean, you get in there. Everyone will get in. Even if the line is long. But I would recommend if you do want to get in there early, like
How long you want to wait?
I would
if you're
definitely-
really an Engadget fan,
Yeah,
you wanna get there early.
you're gonna.
Well, if you don't
get in
want to
line
be
and wait.
standing on the sidewalk for 3 hours.
Hopefully it'll be a nice day. Beautiful weather today. Not a bad day to be standing
Yeah,
on the
it might be a little warm. Wait, someone's complaining about my laptop power.
Yes, the cable is wrapped under
Okay.
the laptop.
I
You
forgot
gotta
to
fix
charge my
that.
laptop, and so I'm using a new machine.
Using a
Is that
Dell,
better? I hope that's a little bit better.
not running Windows.
No,
though.
I'm running Ubuntu.
And how you liking it?
My old. I love Ubuntu.
Good old Dell with the support for
I was
the
gonna
open
put
source.
I was gonna put Linux Mint on here, but I can't believe the tangent. But I was gonna do Linux Mint, but it just seems like more of a pain to upgrade to do the upgrade. So and I've always loved Ubuntu.
Not
So
tenacious tortoise.
yeah, we're not there yet. We're getting there though.
Also announced this week our insert coin competition. We did this
Yeah.
with great success. I'm going to take these off now.
You may know Goji.
I talked about
Successful
it.
company Goji from the last insert coin.
Sorry. Okay. Gosh. We're going to do it again. $25,000 in prizes for people launching their products at our event in November.
You will get you'll get a per diem, I think, or not a per diem.
Semifinalists will receive $1,000 travel credit
Yeah.
to show up, which could be called a per diem. Certainly, I think that's fair.
Well, not per day specifically. but
No.
Yeah, $500 per diem.
You'll get it per weekend.
You'll
What do you
get
call it per week?
per weekendum.
Who speaks Latin? What's week in Latin?
Yeah, you'll get some space on the floor. I mean, that was really I don't know, for most people, I think that was actually the highlight of the last show. Was just
Certainly was mine.
that cool.
You and
insert
Mark
coin
up there
hour.
giving the coins or the giant coins away. That was pretty fun, and all the demos that were
Yeah.
a little bit iffy at times,
Yeah.
but that's part of the
That was
fun to see
Sure.
the demos
Brian
kind of
sweat on stage.
not you so much as the people with the demos who weren't sure if
I
their
sweated
machines were going to
plenty
work.
for everybody. Huh?
Well, that's not anything new, Brian. So the submissions are open now. They are accepted as of 2 days ago, as a matter of
Yep.
fact. They end us September 27th, so you got a couple months left. If you're looking to go Kickstarter, if you're looking to go Indiegogo, and you're hoping to launch sometime this fall, maybe you might want to wait a little bit longer and go through the competition because you'll probably get some more exposure thanks to us, maybe. So,
Money.
and perhaps a lot of
Perhaps
money.
money.
We'll get you a long way towards your goal, we think. So, again, if you've got something coming up, that's cool. Check out the site for the Insert Coin New Challengers competition on the show floor at Expand this fall, November 9th and 10th at Javits in New York City.
Cool,
How's
we're
that?
good.
That
We're
sound
good
good?
here.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All
Hope
right.
you had a wonderful podcast this week. And,
It's too bad no news happened this week.
News is happening as we speak, but we're going to go ahead and talk about the biggest story
I
from
think
last night.
those newses are over, right?
I guess the newses
Those
are
newses
over.
have drawn to
Those
a close.
newses are no longer newses. They've gone black. But last night, pretty big newses from Microsoft in Seattle. Of course, the instant that the Xbox One was launched, people were wondering about the policies for used games and that sort of thing. We learned very quickly at the launch event in Seattle that there would be a 24-hour check-in. Basically, if you didn't have your console online once a day, your games would stop working. They would start working again the next time you went online. But
And what did
ultimately,
Microsoft say?
and Microsoft said, well, we have a console for you if you can't get online. It's called the Xbox 360,
Yeah.
which is one of the most insulting things I've ever heard executives say.
It's called "Shut Up, Poor People."
And if you don't care about being online at all, you can buy an original Xbox on eBay.
It's called a rock. Play with it.
Forget you military men risking your lives in submarines and battleships. You can't play our video games. You should play the old
That's
ones.
why they have Battleship.
Anyhow, that's just very true.
They should have said we have
actually.
book-
See, now that would
go
have been
read
a
a
better
book.
response. Go play Battleship.
Yeah, you don't want people screaming, "You sunk my Battleship." too loud on
Exactly.
the Battleship.
That could cause an international event. So after
That's how World War I started.
Microsoft didn't seem to listen to any of the complaints at that point. People were up in arms on Reddit and on forums and everywhere else.
The people on Reddit were pissed.
They were brutal.
Wait,
absolutely
people on
brutal.
Reddit
I
were
know.
pissed about a thing?
People on Reddit taking umbrage.
There was there was a lynch mob on Reddit.
And Microsoft just seemed to get firmer and firmer about this stand. But then last night, out of nowhere, they turned a complete 180 and said, okay, fine, we're going to kill off the entire thing. And now, if you buy a game on a disc, you have to have the disc in the tray, or not a tray, but in the system to play the game. You will be able to give that disc to somebody else if you want to, and they can play the game. There will be no DRM checks for games purchased on disc. You will not be able to download those games again later. You cannot sign on to another system and download those games. But it doesn't mean your system will not have to check in every 24 hours to be able to play those disc-based games.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
So, what's the best way to?
You're announcing that you're going to put forward a conspiracy
I'm
theory?
announcing.
Get your
I'm
tinfoil
gonna-
hats on,
this way
people.
is it-
Wait, just so you guys know,
Yeah,
this is
guys.
my conspiracy theory.
What's the best way to let people know that you're listening to feedback? Put forward a terrible idea, as I'm doing right now. Wait until there's outrage, and then change it as quickly as possible.
I'm outraged, Brian.
Yeah.
I think you should change your opinion.
You
on
know
that.
what? That's not a conspiracy theory at all.
It's not a conspiracy. It's just
No,
I don't think they would do that.
No, because they shot themselves in the foot big time. I was talking with Richard Lawler last night about this, and he was speculating how bad must the pre-orders have been, and how much have they been feeling the heat. They were on Jimmy Fallon was talking with Sony this week, and they were really pretty brutal about this sort of thing. And I think Microsoft finally came around and realized that this is just not a good message to be sending, that the gamers don't care. And that the benefits that come out of this are not enough to make up for the drawback of having to check in every day.
GameStop did sell out of the Xbox One, though. So, I mean,
I would guess that the pre-sales were probably okay. Like
I don't think that this was holding up too many people.
I think it was probably the price, if anything, but this is the thing that they could change.
I think that my sense is that the PR was bad, and there was no reason for them. Like there wasn't a compelling business case for them to hold on to this.
But if the PR is bad, why take such a stand against it and then immediately change it? I mean, wouldn't you back off from it at least?
They did, but even back off from.
Well, they were going out there and saying that it was a great idea, and then just
because
made
that's
it
the way big
180.
companies work. Is like they have a position, and then it takes them time to like officially change the position, which is what they had to do.
It just seems like they could have softened it a little bit in the meantime.
It feels to me like they said, okay, here's the rules, here's the game. If you don't like it, we're going to take our ball and go home. And that's basically what they did. They instead of changing it from 24 hours to every week or to every month, which I think they could have done pretty easily, they said, all right, fine, forget it. If you don't want this, we're going to cancel the whole thing.
Well, and I think that's what they were looking at. I think they thought that they were coming up with an easy way for people to be able to access all their games without having to pop discs in and out and manage their disc collection and stuff. And there are some advantages to this, right? Like you can put your discs away and you can access your games more easily. And I think that for some people, especially if you don't really care about selling your used games or buying used games or whatever, that was kind of a cool thing. So they messaged it really poorly. They really focused on. They allowed the conversation to be about the drawbacks from this rather than the things that were gained.
I don't know how easy it is when you're a company that size to control the conversation ultimately, though.
Well, however it turned out, I mean, maybe there were just enough negatives in it that there's nothing they could do.
But if they had come out and said that rather than saying that you should buy an Xbox 360,
and part of the problem is that when they introduced the Xbox One, they didn't have good questions for these things because. This is where I give them the benefit of the doubt, is they probably genuinely weren't really thinking about it as like, how can we screw the used games market? No. They were, I mean, I'm sure they weren't unaware of it, but I think that they were, again, thinking of it as like, how can we create this system that makes it easy for people to access their games without the discs, but that doesn't turn it into this like free-for-all where like...
While appeasing all of the third parties.
Well, I mean, if you're a game publisher, like you want, one person to have custody of the game at a time. So you created this system for tracking custody, so to speak. And it turned out to be, like as I was saying, like this really, like people really focused on the drawbacks from the system, which I think are legitimate in a lot of respects.
And Microsoft didn't really have a message. When they launched the Xbox, they didn't really talk about this at all. It wasn't until the interviews after they launched it that we started to hear a little bit about this. I think Don Metric first gave that 24-hour figure in an interview with Kotaku. And they didn't talk about it at all on stage. They didn't really have a proper response. And he wasn't even sure of the 24-hour thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like they hadn't really thought through they hadn't thought through all the ramifications of the new policy. And that's... is what came and bit them in the ass here, which is that, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on the podcast, but
you are.
You
are. Brian, not swearing.
Yeah, okay. Brian's not allowed to. Brian is banned from swearing. Too many swears.
Ass.
But damn it.
Ass it.
And I think that's why, like, when people had all these questions, they didn't have answers for them because they hadn't really thought it through, and that was, I mean, frankly, is a little bit inexcusable at the level that they're operating at.
Absolutely. And I'm still really frustrated that they didn't come up with some sort of a happy medium that would give us some of those benefits without nuking the entire thing. Philip Fry here in chat actually has a pretty good suggestion. Why didn't it just fall back to a disk check if the internet connection goes out? I think that would be a reasonable solution.
I don't know.
Could have been. Anyway, I think that they could have done something other than just taking their ball and gone home.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's good in the long run. People will forget about this eventually and move on with their lives.
People move on because the only people who really care are the hardcore gamers right now,
right.
and most.
And they're going to buy an Xbox
no
matter what.
At least they have they will feel less bad about buying.
They're going to buy an Xbox no matter what. I mean, there's no way this was going to stop any of those people from buying an Xbox, and the people the more casual gamers weren't paying attention to this.
Right.
It would have just been kind of a nuisance, but it certainly wouldn't have been enough to trip them up from buying this thing.
I canceled one of my 3 Xbox One pre-orders. I was so upset. So now
that's
I'm down
probably
to 2
why they
Xbox
turned around.
One pre-orders. I'm only down to 2 Microsoft. So, but you're lucky. You're lucky. So ultimately, I think this is probably better for. Is it better? I guess that's a good question. Is this actually a better solution for most people? Probably not.
It depends. I mean, it depends on like the pattern of of how you use. And buy games and things like that. I mean, and again, like if you download your games, you'll be able to still have a lot of the benefits that you would have had.
Yeah, I think it's a better solution because it's not that much of a change since the last one. So it's something that people are already kind of in the habit of doing.
And I'm tempted. I mean, I'm tempted just to do downloads from now on. Just having I lost like my copy of Skyrim, and I was like, great. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I'm tempted too, but I mean, I still have my NES from 1984 or 85, whenever that was, and I can put the cartridge in and it plays. And I wonder if, with a downloadable game, if that'll still be true.
Of course not.
If the hard drive fails in 20 years. And in theory, could I put it in the disc and still play
no,
it?
But the Nintendo does keep checking to make sure that the cartridge is in there.
Yes,
right?
thankfully Nintendo hasn't shut down that server yet. So
you're living in the past, man.
I know I am. Sometimes it's nice and comfortable.
Just run an emulator.
Super Nintendo, Tim.
Moving right along. Samsung today had a event in London, and they announced 15, 22, about 38 products today at their event in London. That's a slight exaggeration. It was actually more like 10. A lot of things were launched today, starting with, let's start with the Ativ Q. I think it's Ativ.
That's probably the most interesting thing.
We decided Ativ. We'll go with Ativ for today.
How were they pronouncing it?
Ativ.
Ativ. I think it's Ativ.
Like active?
Yes, like active.
Like a European kind of style, I don't know. I'm thinking of something. Okay, anyway.
I don't know what you're thinking. This is a
Can we edit
device with Joe taking note.
Stop the podcast.
You can go to every listener's brain and just pull that.
This is a tablet slider with a keyboard, which runs both Windows and Android 4.2, and it's got a 13.3 inch. Check this, 3200 by 1800 LCD, and Apple still can't put it right in the display on my Air. Anyway, 1.29 kilograms. This one are we metric? That's about a little under 3 pounds.
Yeah,
I
what's
think.
the battery life on that thing?
A little under 3 pounds. I believe it's Haswell. It's not. It is a Haswell processor, so presumably it'll be pretty decent. But I don't think they gave us any specs for battery life. But yeah, it's a cool device. So we've seen some of these kind of dual booting cross-platform devices that'll do Android in tablet mode, Windows 8 in laptop mode. And it's interesting to see this in more of an integrated device with the slider. We actually haven't seen that many sliders in a while.
They have not really caught on. And this is the first. Is this the first Windows Android device from Samsung?
I think it is.
Has to
Yeah,
be.
I think it is.
And that alone is kind of a big deal. I mean, certainly Microsoft is not going to be very happy about that. But
Microsoft's making money from both of those operating systems.
but yeah, sure. But I mean, it's but it's sort of like if Windows 8 were so great as a tablet, like why would you need to have Android on there?
So the idea here is that you're doing all of your word processing and other kind of like heavy tasks on Windows, and then you flip over for Android
for the Angry Birds, yeah. And you can interestingly add shortcuts to Android apps into the Windows 8 menu, which I think is pretty cool too. So you don't necessarily need to, do any sort of complicated thing to switch over to Android mode. You can just tap on an icon and hop into an Android app.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're targeting people who are already pretty heavily into Android at this point, so have already spent some money to download those apps and just want to port them over. I mean, that's the one advantage I can see to something like this.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm very curious to see what the market's going to be for this sort of thing. Obviously, and how successful it is. But I think it's a really cool idea for a product. I've never been a huge fan of sliders, to be honest. Though that's probably my biggest concern. But the display sounds nice.
Though, so there'll be 10 more of these devices.
They did give an estimate of 9 hours on battery, which is quite fair
bad, yeah.
for a slate convertible thing like this. Pretty cool. Pricing though, I believe, is TBD.
Yeah, it's probably going to be expensive.
Not going to be cheap, especially with a display like that.
I'm fascinated by that screen resolution.
Yeah,
just
me
because,
too.
I mean, Windows 8 is not ready for that, but I wonder if Samsung has done what they've done to customize Windows 8 for that resolution.
Yeah, I was expecting it to have 8.1 actually, because they haven't made changes to make Windows 8 more friendly for lower resolution devices. And I thought maybe that would open things up a little bit higher too. But it sounds nice. So look for that later this year.
It's got an S Pen on there.
It does have a S Pen.
Is that just a stylus at this point when it's on Windows, or does it have?
No, I think it's a S Pen.
It's a S Pen.
It's a S Pen. Where do you go? Samsung also rebranded their Series 9 laptops to become the ATIV Book 9 Plus or Lite. ATIV. Thank you. Oh, boy, I already lost it. Which I think is a dumb move. I think Series 9 had a pretty good reputation, and now to change it to ATIV Book 9 Plus.
Just such a bad.
Yeah.
Why just call everything the Galaxy? Just go for it.
Yeah, could be worse. But there's the Plus and the Lite. The Plus is the higher end of the two models, which is Haswell chip, again, 3200 by 1800 QHD plus resolution, 256 gig SSD, 8 gigs of RAM, Gorilla Glass screen too. So really nice, really thin, 12 hours of battery life they're saying. So again, like the Air. This should be a really compelling option for those who want something like the Air, but who want to get a little Windows.
Can I just get back to the ATIV name? Was that just testing so well that they decided to apply it across the board?
Presumably. I mean,
we're
all in love with it. So
yeah, has the ATIV been a very successful brand list? I can't imagine it has.
I don't
judging
think there's been a
on the
single
feedback
product
in
that's
chat right now, no. Absolutely not. Nobody in chat seems to be enjoying the ATIV name. I'm certainly not. I just think the Series 9, I mean, I always thought
we've lost
Series
the chat
9
room.
it's all downhill from here.
There goes the South.
Yeah, forget it. Done.
So there's also the ATIV Lite, ATIV Book 9 Lite, which has a 1.4 gigahertz Intel chip, probably not Haswell. We don't know exactly what that is. 1366 by 768. So lower spec device, lower cost too, presumably, but we don't have full cost on either of these just yet. Thin and light, nice ultrabooks. I think they'll be very compelling options. They'll probably be out before too long too.
Yeah,
so.
The screen resolution on the Lite, not good.
No, I wouldn't take that. Go for the Pro.
Yeah.
Plus. Go for the Plus. ATIV Book 9 Plus.
No, I'm going to wait for the Plus Pro.
Which they'll probably be
6400
introducing
by
here in a
3600.
couple
I
of
like the Lite Plus because I feel like it's the best of both worlds.
Or of a Plus Lite man myself. And then there's also the Samsung Ativ Tab 3, which is basically the Windows version of the Galaxy Tab, more or less. 8.2 millimeters thick, Windows tablet. There I go again. Boy, I was getting very confused. 1366 by 768 display.
That again,
so,
it's killing me. Like, how could they?
Well, this is on spec with the Galaxy Tab series, which
I know, but it's too low.
It is too
for
low.
a 10-inch display. That is way too low resolution.
I also like how they call this the Tab 3, even though it's, I think, the first one of these. But again, trying to keep up with the Galaxy Tab 3.
Yeah.
So Windows 8 proper, 2 gigs of RAM. It's an Intel chip, the Z2760 Atom, and it's got a S Pen. So it's more of a Note. So this should actually be the Ativ Tab Note 3.
Note 3.
Plus.
Lite. With Galaxy DNA.
I'm going to wait for the ruggedized active version.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
The Ativ Active?
The
active.
The active. See, I brought it back.
Very nice. It all comes full circle, folks. This is coming out in August here in the U.S. for $699 with a keyboard cover, which is not bad. $699 with a keyboard cover. That's not great.
It's about on point with Samsung's other
Fair.
offerings.
I think it's fair. It's a 10-inch device, so it would be most comparable to the Surface. Certainly less expensive than the Surface, but by September, August, the very good chance we'll be seeing a new Surface. So
I certainly hope so.
Who knows? I think we all do. And then last, but
I'm serious. I actually do hope they do.
I do too. Last and probably least, this is the Samsung Ativ 1.5 style AIO. Is it IO? IO?
All-in-one.
All-in-one.
That's ours. That's us.
Yeah.
That's an Engadget.
I know
thing.
it's
Can somebody
tough-
play the sad trombone note in chat for me? Joe, maybe you can edit that in after the podcast. So this is the Windows 8 all-in-one 21.5-inch display, 1080p. So we've moved beyond 1060 or 1024 or any of those other unfortunate options. Pretty standard all-in-one, but without a stylus.
Yeah, it's a nice looking thing, right?
It's an all-in-one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's touchscreen?
It's gotta be, right?
Oh, man. I take nothing for granted now.
I just assumed.
How cynical is that, right?
No, it's a fair question.
Unconfirmed.
No.
What does chat say?
Yeah,
Chat
can you guys go
says-
to Gizmodo and see what they're reporting on this?
Touchscreen, yes.
To arrive without a stylus.
It does have a touchscreen.
No stylus, but it does have a touchscreen.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Sure.
Amazing.
Put it in your kitchen.
My next
Some.
all-in-one.
That's what
I know, right?
you can't talk about an all-in-one without saying kitchen. The word
HP
kitchen.
really broke ground
Kitchen.
on that. That's like everybody who's not, an iMac is trying to figure out what to do with it, and kitchen seems to be the one thing everybody's hit on.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny if you look back at like the dawn of home computing, back when computers were the size of a washing machine. They were talking about putting them in the kitchen so that someone could look up a recipe on a punch card if they wanted to. They're still trying to get there.
There was that weird. I think it was HP who was like pushing who was trying to basically make it like an interactive fridge where you could put like pictures and stuff on it.
Yeah, Samsung has one. They've got a fridge with basically an Android tablet built in, which is kind of crazy. Actually, they've invited me to come to their testing facility to try it out. So
this will keep your food cold.
look for that in a future Engadget podcast, maybe not. So that was it for Samsung. Lots of products, typical of the Samsung product line. They also showed off the new active Galaxy S4, which I think looks cool. Oh, and the cameras too. We didn't talk about the cameras. We got to talk about the cameras, man.
Yeah, is that on there? Yeah, it's on there.
It is on there. So they announced 2 new cameras today. One being the Galaxy S4 Zoom, which is basically a Galaxy S4 with a compact camera
And a crappy
thing
screen.
on the back, and a lower res screen, unfortunately. More interesting, though, is the Galaxy NX. It's an extension of their NX line of cameras. 20 megapixel interchangeable lens camera running Android with an LTE connection, which is fascinating to me.
Man, it looks like an SLR, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's in theory they should have image quality up to on spec with their other interchangeable lens cameras.
And you're going to need LTE to upload those giant images. So
We always get kind of excited about these things because we think about how we can change our workflow for covering products when we have cameras like this. I still don't know if this would be the kind of thing where you could actually legitimately take pictures or something and upload them directly from the camera.
Yeah, I can't see us
But I mean,
in a situation where we can actually get on LTE to upload
well, that's
images
just
of these
true.
events.
But I mean, you could in theory run a watermarking application right on the camera and have them uploaded instantly. But I mean, if you want to take your 20 megapixel pictures and put them into Instagram as VGA square pictures with some horrible filter on there, now you can do it.
Knock yourselves out.
Let me ask you guys this: do you think that Android is going to become more common across the board, or is this just going to be kind of a super point and shoot consumery product?
I don't think they've had great success with the Galaxy camera in terms of sales. I mean,
it makes sense to just have Android on.
I don't see.
operating
Yeah,
system,
I mean,
right?
if you're paying, especially on the higher end stuff, I mean, if you're paying a lot of money for some usually horrible interface, I mean, Canon and Nikon cameras are great, but their interfaces and the menus
they
are
do the
clunky as
job,
heck.
but they don't do much. I mean, it's
Right.
just a series of menus.
Right. I'm not sure that I necessarily want a funny touch interface on my Canon or my Nikon DSLR, but
Honestly, I wouldn't mind a.
couldn't be worse.
We have a touch on the Nexus and the X.
The newer ones,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the extension of Android into more and more consumer products. So we were just talking about the Samsung refrigerator cameras now, and I'm sure this won't be the last Android camera. And I mean, beyond Samsung, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something from Canon. From other
Yeah.
It makes
manufacturers,
sense,
too.
but it's probably one of those things where like super high end people are not going to want that change.
Oh yeah,
I don't think pro photographers are going to
Yeah.
care that much, but I think for the consumer market, in the prosumer market,
Yeah,
maybe
for sure.
I mean, something that makes it easier to share really nice photos would be. I mean, I could see that being successful. The key is really going to be the cost of the data plans because, if you, I don't want to buy a camera and then just spend like $80 a month to be able to share photos from.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to just when you get home and you're on your Wi-Fi network that it'll automatically upload.
Well, yeah, and there are plenty of Wi-Fi enabled cameras that
Yeah.
you could do that. But I'm saying it's like the idea of having LTE is that like you could do your photos from anywhere.
Yeah.
But the key is going to be being able to have like the data plan that works for you. And
People don't want different data plans for every single piece of hardware that they
Yeah,
have.
and the way that the family plans have worked on the carrier so far, I think at AT&T and Verizon has just not been that great of a deal for adding additional devices like this.
Yeah, I just don't know if
Yeah.
the infrastructure is up to the point where they can just add infinite number of devices to start uploading raw images.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be the kind of thing where you can very quickly and easily add data, and then when you're not using the camera, when it's sitting, in its case in the closet waiting for your next vacation, where you're not paying $20 a month or whatever
Well, that's what I'm
just for it
saying,
to
yeah.
sit there. Exactly. So I would love to see some new data plans, and I don't think they did that for the Galaxy camera, and I wouldn't foresee that sort of thing happening for this either, at least not in the
No.
U.S.
It's just it seems like such a small portion of the population that really want LTE specifically. Again, Wi-Fi and an Android interface I think could be something with wide appeal.
Yeah, it could. But it's NX compatible. There's 13 lenses right now. There's a kit lens which is 18 to 55, which is pretty standard for a kit lens. And ISO goes up to 25,000, which is pretty fair. Of course, who knows what they'll look like at that range. But it looks like a nice device. I'm really interested to see how this looks, especially with there's a VGA viewfinder on there too, which is pretty neat. So it'll be cool to try out. I'm looking forward to us getting one to review. Is that it for Samsung? Do we miss anything?
That's all the big stuff. Apparently there were some weird shenanigans. I don't think any of us watched it live, but it was another
No, I didn't get a chance to.
weird. I think somebody mentioned something about a singing baby.
Uh,
Is that?
Babies.
Yeah.
Were they tap dancing for this
I
one?
don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be a Samsung
Any
precedent. of that at all.
Broadway hijinks?
Weird tap dancing.
it's like almost like they want people to be known for horrible press conferences.
Could be
It's something,
worse.
right?
That's our thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Simultaneous to the Samsung event, there was a event going on the West Coast for Facebook announcing a thing which is much like Vine, but actually isn't. It's video on Instagram, 15 seconds on Instagram, on Facebook.
People seem to have forgotten that Flickr has video. That this is something that's been around for a while.
And it's kind of funny because when Flickr launched video, everyone was like, "Oh, well, you can only
30
post
seconds
videos
or
in 30
whatever it was,
seconds on
yeah.
Flickr. What a horrible
Yeah.
idea!" And turns out they're the winners of the war of length of online video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more about the distribution platform than the actual technology. There's nothing groundbreaking about
and the
the
social network
technology.
behind it. Which
Yeah.
I mean, Flickr's got a great social network, but not like Facebook.
Yeah, and I mean, who's using Flickr really on their handsets, right? It's always been kind of a desktop
Right.
piece
Right.
of software.
So 15 seconds. There are how many filters? 20 filters? No, 13 filters.
13 filters.
Like, can you
There's
just send 15 filters?
I know. Really? I mean, come on. iOS and Android at launch. No Windows Phone. Come on, Facebook. And I mean, it'll be fun. I can't wait to see a huge onslaught of random videos
Actually,
of
Vine's
random
not on
things.
Windows Phone either. It was finally
true.
came to Android.
That's true,
like
yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
I'm curious to see how well integrated this is into Facebook and into Instagram. I'm kind of bummed at how loosely integrated Vine is to Twitter. I wish it were much more tightly integrated. Like I have to go find people again on Vine if I want to add them.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm guessing since it's Instagram, it'll be much like Instagram is now. But
yeah, Vine's really it's kind of its own standalone. You're
Which I think
basically
is-
just pushing stuff out to it.
yeah, I wish it weren't. But that's just me.
Sorry. Well, but I mean, the people that you're following on Twitter, you're getting their Vines anyway, right?
Unless you miss them as they're screaming by, which happens to me a lot.
I mean, you run into that with any social network if you follow enough people.
I do. I follow too many. Are you saying I follow too many people?
I think you follow too many people.
Too many people.
I
So
think-
excited?
I think you got 3 people in this room.
So you're
Good.
a happy Vine user. Are you going to be switching to be a happy Instagram
I
user?
actually don't have an Instagram account. I never joined Instagram.
I don't either,
So-
actually. Peter, do you have an
This is
Instagram?
not-
I won't
definitely
use
not
any
gonna
Facebook products.
So
I'm
we
gonna
are
abstain. I abstain.
I mean, they
we're
were
the 3
thing
wrong
before.
people to be talking about this.
What? No, I
this
closed my
launch
account
point.
Oh, really?
when Facebook acquired them.
Yeah.
Like that day. Yeah.
Interesting. You don't have a Facebook account.
What? Nope.
How do you get on Farmville?
We'll talk about that now.
Are you gonna forbid your small child from having a Facebook account? How is that gonna work?
I mean, my wife has a Facebook account,
Yeah.
so it's and family members and things like that. But I'm just assuming that by the time he's interested in Facebook,
There won't be Facebook.
Well, by the time that he's old enough to have a Facebook account, that it will be so massively uncool that he would not want to use it.
What if it was like a second win for MySpace? Like what if they came back?
I got an email from them the other day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. They're like, hey, check out our new thing.
Still
Like,
here, guys.
no.
Yeah.
Remember when Friendster became a casual gaming network?
Yeah.
Still
That's
still big in the Philippines.
Yep. Now I'm hoping that I'm raising some 4chan users. So
Somebody in chat wants to know what laptop you're using.
I just hit him back. Dell
Well-
XPS 13.
Which I reviewed that guy actually last year, as I recall. And
It's great.
I thought it
The
was nice.
screen resolution is too low, but otherwise, in this version, the new version has a higher resolution screen.
It's hard to keep.
Nobody
Peter
has
Rojas
high enough
happy,
screen
man.
resolution for Peter. I think
Peter's
that's
got
just-
eyes like a hawk, like a hawk.
You know, now I'm just getting old. Now I'm like, I want the text to be perfect.
So I guess the really peculiar thing about this is the fact that there was a press conference at all. I mean, Facebook is just doing press conferences left and right at this point. Do you think that this really warranted one of those? I mean, if they had beat Vine to the punch, maybe.
I don't know, man. I mean, it certainly there was a lot of buzz leading up to it. So, I mean, if you can get buzz leading up to an event, then presumably
I think it's
an event's
I think
warranted.
it's a big deal for Instagram, and I think that it certainly wasn't that crazy for them to have a press conference for it. But yeah, I mean, they have to. You can't go to the well too many times. They have to be wary of that.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I don't know. I could totally be off base on this, but I'm wondering how interesting filters are going to be on video. Ultimately,
You're gonna prepare to be extremely sick of this.
a lot of 15-second CB
and like
down.
14 hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
that's optimistic, I think. Now, obviously, they saw Vine and thought we should do that, right? I mean, did anybody think that they were actually working on video
I'm sure
first?
they were working on video. I don't think there's
You
any
think?
question they were working on video for Instagram. It makes sense as a next step. My question is, I haven't actually used it, but I believe it's kind of similar to Vine. I mean, you've used Vine.
I have.
Have you used- have
I'm
you
enjoying
Vined?
Vine
Have you
now.
Vined?
No.
And the cool thing about Vine is,
I mean, I know
it's-
how it works, but
yeah, it's touchscreen, so you can do like stop motion. You can do quick cuts, things like that. And I think that's part of Instagram, and that I would be curious as to if that was part of the plan all along.
Yeah, me too. Because that turns out to be one of the coolest parts of Vine, I think. Because
Yeah.
you can do these quick little blips of, and you can tell so much more out of your 6-second. There's a Darren Murph. While Darren Murph has appeared, and he's disappeared again. You can tell a lot more than you could otherwise with 6 seconds because you can blast out a couple frames, which I think makes it
Yeah,
pretty
I
cool.
have some cartoonist friends who've done some really cool stop motion.
You
things
should have
with
to
it.
tell me their handles so that I can follow them. If people are wondering, yes, there are indeed fire trucks driving through the studio
Yeah.
right now. So
Facebook police.
This is what happens when you podcast in a non-sealed studio
In New York City.
New York
of all
City.
places, yeah.
They're coming to.
You know
drag
what? This
Peter
was
to
an issue
Facebook.
actually with the original Engadget podcast when we recorded in my apartment. So
your fire
it goes way back.
we had
Sliding down the pole.
3 fire drills yesterday, actually. So
We did.
The timing could be worse.
That would have. Boy, that would have been great if we had a fire drill right now.
The guy, the fire safety inspector.
We had this. We got the horrible talk about
That
don't
guy
leave the
needs
building
immediate
because you'll be crushed by stones falling, or you might walk into a cloud of steam and be boiled alive. Your intestines. So stay in the building until they tell you to leave the building. Then you got to get the heck out of the building.
One of my favorite fire inspector stories, and I have a lot of really good ones from working in New York City,
can't
was
wait to hear this.
when I was at PC Mag, and he came over and he said, "Please disregard the smoke." And oh no, he meant the alarm. He's telling everybody in the building to disregard the smoke.
Nice. And then right after we had our fire alarm briefing, suddenly a message goes over the intercom saying, disregard the alarm that's going on. Even though there wasn't really an alarm, suddenly everyone was worried, what's going on? Anyhow,
Would have been a good Vine.
Geek would have been a good Vine.
Yeah.
If only you could actually see. That's the problem with Vine. It takes like 10 seconds to get into the app and actually record something.
Yeah.
If it could be instant, that's what we need. We need a Vine phone where the OS is gone. It's just Vine.
Go on.
And then there's these little floating heads for video. All right, let's talk about Geek, because Geek is a new manufacturer to us for the most part, and they came out with some interesting products. Geek is a Chinese company.
They came out with the sort of things that only, I think, Chinese companies could come up with.
And more power to them for that. They launched a couple of smartphones that look pretty decent, or announced, I should say, as well as a smartwatch,
Yeah, the watch seems
which they
kinda
call the world's first true smartwatch, which is a somewhat debatable thing,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
a
think
dubious.
I think some people at Microsoft might.
I think a lot of people might dispute that. I think Microsoft would be like, we've done that like 3 times.
Yes,
now,
and
right?
no one buys
And
them. And then the Geek Ring as well. What's your favorite, Brian?
I like the Ring personally because I don't feel like we've seen a lot of smart rings.
It's true. So there is the Ring's basically NFC, so you'll be able to, in theory, unlock your phone with your Ring, or maybe unlock your door with your Ring, or your car. There's so many things you can unlock with your Ring.
Mordor.
Unlock. Sure, one does not simply walk into Mordor with an NFC ring, Brian, but you could really just hop on the Eagle and fly in.
Dude, you couldn't take the Eagle into Mordor.
Why can't you take the Eagle into Mordor?
No, you couldn't.
Why not?
Because Sauron would have seen an eagle coming in.
On, but it would take you like 10 seconds to fly.
It's not possible.
You really think Sauron couldn't have seen a couple hobbits walking around?
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
He was distracted,
distracted,
and they're on the ground. But eagles,
all those,
I don't think
all those
the
good-looking
giant-
elves walking
I don't
around.
think
Floating space ice
I
should
don't
be so
think
easily
giant
distracted.
eagles would have been able to make it in.
We will pick up this conversation.
Ooh,
on
what about a
Engadget.
sexy lady eye like Bugs Bunny? Could have distracted him.
Could have.
Could have put a wig on another floating eye.
I'm just saying, like I won't tolerate any counterfactual Lord of the Rings.
Fanfic.
Yeah.
Extended universe.
Moving right along.
Wait! I just want to say about the watch before. This looks like vaporware to me.
It is a render. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not just the
mean,
rendering. It seems too good to be true, especially with the tiny battery.
Yeah. Well, one does have to wonder how long the battery would last. When we've got a 1 gigahertz processor in there, half a gig of RAM, with 500 milliampere battery, which is about the same size as Google Glass, and we've seen how actually they're smaller than Glass. I think.
Yeah, that's not much.
Yeah, we've got AO2, BGN Wi-Fi, so there's a lot of stuff going on there for a watch with a battery that small.
Yeah, I'm skeptical.
I think that's
To have a battery that small and have something running Wi-Fi,
It's
like
got a
having
headphone
Wi-Fi.
jack too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to have a headphone cable running down to your watch.
Well, we've seen that on a lot of products. I mean, it never works, but there's been
Right.
plenty of these phones with headphone jacks on them.
$330. Pre-orders start July 3rd.
It's got Bluetooth, right?
Yes, Bluetooth
Okay.
4, right? Yeah, Bluetooth
So
4.
that should take care of that problem to some degree.
One would think so. Carlo is saying that the mouth of Sauron has been replaced by the vine of Sauron, which means that would be a much shorter movie if it were to be.
Oh God, wouldn't that be nice? This thing was like 9 hours.
Just for the first episode. And now, a company that we are quite familiar with has made some money and been acquired. MakerBot acquired by Stratasys for $403 million. So Stratasys is, I don't want to say industrial, but definitely pro-grade 3D printers. I guess industrial's fair.
Yeah, industrial's fair.
MakerBot is more of a consumer company, although they're certainly, their printers have been used by a lot of companies to make a lot of interesting things. Startups, anyway.
it's a desktop. It's a desktop
Right.
3D printer company. It's
Yeah.
probably
If you have a large desktop, or you don't want to put your actual PC on your desktop. $4 and $3 million. So good on you, Bree Pettis.
Yeah, enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, well deserved, I'm sure. Well deserved indeed.
It'll be interesting to see if he's still the face of MakerBot in the way that he has been.
I hope so.
I think he'll stay.
I hope so.
I loved. We were at the South by Southwest. He was giving the keynote, and he was showing this slideshow, and he's standing on stage giving this presentation, and the last slide of the slideshow is a picture of him triumphantly holding a MakerBot above his head. So he's definitely gone out of his way to make himself the figurehead of the company.
That's fair, I think. It says that MakerBot will continue to operate as an independent company, hopefully a separate company with its own branding and marketing, so they won't become Stratsys
Nor should they,
consumer or
because
anything like that.
MakerBot is kind of synonymous with consumer 3D printers for most people.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to mess with it too much.
I hope not. Do you think this is why we've seen so many more press releases from MakerBot over the past 2 weeks? Do you think they now have a larger, more active PR team than they did before, and that's why they're churning
they've
out
all
those
been
releases?
from the same person.
They were probably trying to pump up them a little bit of press.
Yeah.
I will say, as somebody who has sold their company, that it's not that you often, as you're closing negotiations, you try to generate a little bit extra news about what you're doing.
So to get to 403 instead of 402?
That may have been the case. But I mean, it's also great for the New York technology community, and
Yeah,
I like
it
the
is.
idea of, I mean, they're going to be a company that grows and that creates a lot of jobs here in New York and Brooklyn
they've been
specifically.
growing
So
pretty quickly so far.
I mean, you could see them being. I mean, do we know how many employees they have in New York right now? At least a couple
I wanna
hundred.
say like 60 or 70.
Yeah, I mean, you could see them growing to being like 500 people,
Yeah, yeah.
1,000 people.
and, they'll have a lot more money behind them. Hopefully, this will mean that they can bring the price down a bit and make these things a little bit user friendly with some more R&D. I mean, because we actually, the closest analogy at this point is 3D Systems, and 3D Systems got into the consumer space really quickly, and they're really quick to develop some pretty nice printers, and I think a lot of that comes out of the fact that they're multi-million dollar company.
Yeah, the company. I mean, it's really HP that should have bought these guys.
Honestly, yeah, because they really need to kickstart their 3D,
Yeah,
their 3D presence. That was not a pun I intended to make, and that would have been a great way for them to do that, especially because consumer printers for them have been such a big thing, and they have no presence there at all.
yeah.
But hey, somebody's got to win, and it was Stratsys. So kudos to Stratsys. I think that was a very smart acquisition. So Brian, you got to go to SparkFun's autonomous vehicle competition in Boulder, right?
Yeah,
Which was
that
pretty
was
awesome.
The weekend before WWDC and E3.
So they're both ground-based and air-based competitions,
Yeah,
right?
so this is a 5-year-old competition. They used to actually have it at SparkFun's headquarters in Boulder and have since moved it to the Reservoir. We were talking to Chris Anderson out there because obviously 3D Robotics had a big presence there, and he was saying that like a year or two before, when they still had it at the building, what did he say? There were 5 trees and they managed to run into 3
of them, yeah.
It's a really cool thing, and if you're out in Boulder, it's definitely a good way to spend a Saturday. They've got 2 different tracks. They've got the drone one, which is you have to lift off. You have to go over this body of water, drop a tennis ball onto a small sliver of land, come back around, fly under a wicket, and then land, which is a lot easier said than done, especially when you're considering these sorts of real-world interferences, because it has to be done entirely autonomously. So you have to basically set up all the coordinates and then have your craft do all of that. And it pretty sizable success rate compared to previous years. Although the first 5 or so, none of them got off the ground, but after that it was smooth sailing. The really interesting thing to me was that the success rate of actually completing the track wasn't as high for the autonomous vehicles, for the rovers, which you would expect it would be, because you would assume that it's a lot easier to drive something around it.
Yeah, they talked about a curse, right, or something about in the competition.
Well, it was, I mean, that was one of the high school girls that we
blame
spoke to.
metaphysics, of course. That's the only way to go.
But I think really what it comes down to is that there's not as serious of a community building these things. I mean, there's these really some of the best engineers in the world right now are working on these drones. They all came out for this little press conference that they had the day before DroneCon. 3D Systems flew a lot of them out, and a lot of them are like, they're working for the Navy during the day, or they're actually working for 3D Systems, so they're directly involved in the creation of the hardware and software on these things. And there's no analogous position over in the rovers. I mean, it's really, I think I called it like Pinewood Derby for grown-ups.
Yeah, it was amazing to me that Chris Anderson, you'd think he would show up with this absolutely amazingly, overwhelmingly awesome UAV. And he's got like this cheap little toy thing that probably cost him $15 at Ames, or there's no Ames, Walmart, and it just kind of hacked together.
Or Spark Fun, or
anywhere, yeah. But it's cool that he just had this little kind of cobbled together little thing.
There were a bunch of different tracks, and one of them was like spending under a certain amount. So he decided he was going to try to build something with the cheapest hardware that he could, and I would think he was pretty frustrated by the end of the day.
Yeah, he definitely looked frustrated.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is who and how did they fish all the tennis balls out that missed?
That's a good question. I don't know. How
Maybe they're biodegradable tennis balls that just sort of.
It was
fade away
somebody's
with time.
job though to sit on that peninsula all day and just
really?
their hands when they dropped. That was the extent of the scientific.
Wow, I hope they get some suntan lotion. That was my first thought. Maybe not.
So it's nice. Ben and Todd shot a nice video. You can check that out on the site right now.
Yeah, it was good. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I think we're out of news.
Yeah,
Pretty good week.
I think that about does it.
Yeah, we got some questions we can run through though.
All
If y'all don't have to run
we're
away.
right at an hour right now, so that's
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Kyle Hawley on Twitter, Rip Forever, asking, is anyone finding the size of the space bar in iOS 7 beta to be too small? I keep hitting .com instead of space. I actually have that problem on Android, but I can't speak to the iOS 7 beta because I honestly am not using it myself. I don't think any of us are, so I'm sorry to say, Kyle, we don't have a good answer for you. Jadid on Twitter asking, if you had a choice between the Microsoft Surface RT and the Samsung Ativ Q, which one would you choose? I think right now the Ativ's got the lead, but again, we've got build coming up soon. I don't know whether we'll actually see new hardware there, but Microsoft can't be too far away from giving us a new Surface. So, yeah, right now it's the Ativ, even though it's got a funny name. Stephen Sandhoff on Twitter again asking thoughts on the iOS controller support. What percentage will it shave off the console market? So we did see a leaked picture this week of a game controller from Logitech, which basically your iPhone 5 slots in the middle and gives you game controller support in iOS 7. So presumably if Logitech's in there, Mad Catz and a bunch of others will probably be doing the same sort of thing. How much will it shave off of the console market? I think that they've already shaved a lot off the console market.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is going to really change things.
Yeah, it's not going to change the trajectory very much.
But I think they'll be very popular things, especially if they can build them in such a way that they, add more battery life or add better speakers or anything to that effect, which I'm sure that they'll all do. But the Logitech one has a Lightning interface in there, so in theory it could be doing more than just button presses. But we don't know at this point. Jeremy in chat asking, do we have any news on the Ativ Book 7 or 8? No, we don't at this point. Well, actually, shockingly, Samsung didn't talk about those. Or any of the other books. I'm sure there are many books to come, but no, we don't know.
They have not closed the book on Ativ.
Boobs and Bacon in chat asking, is that
the first time you've actually said that out loud? Because
I said Boobs and Bacon before. Boobs and Bacon. Some wonderful things that he chose for his handle. What is the point?
I thought it was Boob Sand Bacon, like his list of 3 things he likes.
Bacon.
He loves sand and bacon.
Sand.
That's just not a good combo. That sounds like chafy to me. What's the point of the Galaxy NX, and is there anything that interests you from the Samsung event? What is the point of the Galaxy NX? Well, it's to bring the sort of connectivity you have in your phone to your camera for serious photo enthusiasts. The question is, do you need that kind of connectivity? Do you really want to be uploading full-res raw images over LTE and sharing them instantly? I don't know. I just saw a Nikon commercial where they were talking up their little Bluetooth dongle that'll let you connect to your phone and upload instantly. So Nikon thinks it's something worth putting a TV commercial.
People want to. If you're trying to sell point and shoot cameras, and Samsung doesn't necessarily have to do that. It seems to have a healthy smartphone business, but.
Among others.
Among other business. But I would say that that making it easier for people to share photos that they shoot. I mean, that's a problem. I remember. I wish I could remember the exact percentage, the exact data point, but it was like I spoke with someone like a consumer electronics market researcher, and he was telling me that some like obscene percentage of people that buy like a point and shoot digital camera never actually take the photos off the camera. Like they use the camera as like a little photo.
Yeah.
Like they're like, hey, look at these photos I took, and they never take out the SD card. They never, drag. They never sync it with a computer or anything like that. And so something that makes it easier for people to get those photos off is a good thing, especially if you want people to continue to buy those kinds of cameras.
Yeah, but I'll say that I don't think that a mirrorless camera is targeted at people who don't take pictures off their camera.
No, but I'm just saying, like in general, that for cameras to exist as this,
Sure.
like the idea that cameras would not become connected devices is probably not realistic.
But I wonder like how many people are even buying point and shoots at this point, right?
It's also
people still buy
something that Samsung can use to differentiate themselves, because there are so many point and shoots. They all cost about the same. They all have about the same specs. And people, they look at megapixels, they look at a few other things, but they don't really probably read a lot of reviews. But if you can have one that will automatically upload your pictures to Facebook right from the camera, that's something that the salesman can talk up, whether it's an interchangeable lens camera or a compact camera. So any little advantage they can get, especially when it's low cost, like Android in theory would
Do you
be.
think 5 years from now, what percentage of cameras being sold do you think will have some kind of non-tethered connectivity?
I don't even know what the percentage is now, but
very small.
It's not high. I think it's probably going to be a pretty standard feature in 5 years, right?
I don't know if I'd say standard. I wouldn't say maybe. Well, I
On
don't
point
know,
shoots,
man.
it will be, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at the pro market, I don't think that it's something. I think
Which is
it'll take
not
longer
realistic
to
to
catch on.
send a raw photo.
Right. Yeah. In fact, Jeremy from YouTube is asking, how long will it take you to burn through your LTE data cap? Sending raw photos upload, and presumably you won't be sending raw photos. If you're using the Facebook upload, it'll downsize your images in Google Plus too. Although you can do full res. Actually, that's a good question. I wonder if Google Plus on one of these cameras would actually do full res uploads to Google Plus.
Why would you?
And that would totally kill your
would
Google Drive
anybody want
storage
that?
instantly. So, Jeremy, the answer is not very long. It wouldn't take very long at all to kill it. On the consumer market, I could see it actually being reasonably high, like 5-10% in 5 years.
You think that's going to be that's the cap?
I think
of
that's
what it
pretty
can do?
high. No, I think it can go higher, but I mean, in a couple of years, I think that's reasonably high. If only for geotagging alone, I think that's something that.
Again, I think the idea of like being on vacation, coming home, the minute you hit, your Wi-Fi network, everything gets uploaded. I think that'll appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah, you can do that now with a lot of these
now.
devices, and I don't know how popular that's been, honestly. But I would certainly like that. If only to keep my memory cards clean.
And
because
people
I
like
always
to,
forget
but people
delete
like to share in real time, also.
in low res with cyan filters. Luke Bunkers in chat asking, when is the next Engadget show coming, Ryan?
We canceled the Engadget show. I'm sorry to say.
It's news to me. Sorry. to hear that.
Thinking early next week.
Get that Ben Harrison guy off his ass and tell him to cut together the show.
He's in Switzerland.
That's true.
Till yesterday.
He's
What's he
getting
doing in
particles
Switzerland?
collided into his face.
Yeah. He was building black holes. They're working on it as we speak. We finished all the shooting. God, how long ago was that?
That was like 8 months ago. No, pretty sure it was 2 weeks ago, right?
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the shooting is done.
It's going to be an informative episode.
I'm just saying, like we finish a shooting and then WWDC and E3 happen immediately.
We've been busy, okay? He's saying we've been busy.
Get off our backs, Luke.
That's kind of loud in
That
the
was a
studio.
little
I don't know
loud.
what that was
Sorry,
like at
everyone
home.
in the area. All right, I think we are out of questions, and we've gone a little over time. So thanks very much for everyone joining us. If you'd like to join us live, it's always more fun, and you can see these two beautiful men who are next to me in person live. If you join us on Thursday
I may have to
afternoons,
join remotely after all.
starting
I
at
might have to get a little closer.
3:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. Again, thanks for joining us. Brian Heater is at BHeater on Twitter.
Sure.
Peter Rojas is at Peter Rojas on Twitter.
Yep.
Man, one of these days I'll figure that out. And
No, I have to kill at Prohas, I think.
yeah, I need to
Assume his
kill at Tim
identity.
Stevens too. I'm at Tim_Stevens
Or
because
Fine. Who's Peter?